Good afternoon to everyone here, Los Angeles, and magandang umaga to all people watching Facebook Live. Remember you there also. You know, she was known by very names: Maria Victoria, Boknoy, some of her siblings, and Marivic is what I call her. We first met at AIM, Asian Student Management, 26 years ago. We were actually divided into groups of 5 in the class. There was like 55 of us, and I just happened to be in Marivic's, they call it CAN groups, there in the business school. And even back then, she was very outspoken and very passionate and argumentative. People who know me know that I'm probably the total opposite of that. So, but I was attracted to her passion and her love of life. And eventually we came together and fell in love. I love the way that she cared for people. I love the way that she had a passion for education, and also that she had a love of life. Even back in AIM, she cared for people, because when she organized a trip for us to go to Cagayan de Oro City to teach some lower income families, teach them computer skills, so and then go ahead in their education and in their lives. And then later on, during her life, she was able to help a lot of people by helping all the marginalized neighborhoods in Pasig. I remember there was an instance where she found many kids with no shoes, no footwear, and she bought them hundreds of slippers just to pass out and give to them. She just had a very giving heart. And she was very proud of her children. Her son Iyo became twice mayor. Very proud of IC, you look there, or IC. I was proud of Mika, Francesca, and Mishka. Eventually they were able to finish college, and now they're working, which is a big accomplishment in her life. And she had as I mentioned, she had a passion for education, and she set up a scholarship for students at the Rizal Technological University in Pasig. At first it was a small number of scholars, but eventually she sponsored like 100 scholars a year. And she did this for more than 100 years. And, I'm sorry, more than 10 years. So eventually she was able to sponsor over 1,000 scholars. And those scholars eventually were able to uplift their families through their education and advance in life. And she also enjoyed life by working with the people at Pasig Youth Support and helping them out. Sometimes she would pay for their medical expenses or operations because the people there couldn't afford to. And she also had a love of life. She would take them out to travels almost every year for the past few years. This past few years, we went to Taiwan, Korea, Japan. Years before that, we went to Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore. She was very interested in expanding the perspective of her employees and other people. was very passionate about that. And she had a love of life. Every Christmas she would be in the Philippines, in Pasig, to organize the Christmas party there. When the kids were still in school, I was very, sometimes I would be very lonely at Christmas, plus she would be at Pasig. But I knew that she was doing good work there. She wanted to celebrate with her employees and give people some joy and show her generosity. I guess one of her, nobody's perfect, so one of her flaws was she can get very impatient sometimes. She hated to wait in line and hated waiting on people. But when she had to make an appointment, sometimes she would be late for medical appointments or some events. But I guess that was her way of trying to get most out of life. She had so much to accomplish and so much to do, and she probably felt that she didn't have enough time, and she wanted to do so much. But those who know her should really feel blessed that she was able to get to know, that all of you were able to get to know her. She was able to touch your hearts and hopefully make your life a little more joyful. She was a great mother, a great grandmother, a good boss, a good wife, and I'll miss her forever. Hindi kita makalimutan, makakalimutan. Marivic. Thank you. Iyo, you want to say something?
Well, again, thank you for coming. I'm not really used to talking in funerals. Again, in behalf of the family, Nika, IC, Mishka, Cheska, and Eric, I personally want to thank you for making her life more meaningful. And earlier, like I was talking to my cousin back home in the Philippines, and like we were asking if about her service back home, if we need a ballroom dancing, since she loved to dance with her employees as well. And as mentioned earlier as well, there are times that she might be argumentative, and Cheska would know this, Mika, Mishka, and IC. But again, us kids, we would always thank her for all the love that she has given us, either through proper education, either when she's mad at us. I guess it's one way of saying that she was proud of all of us. That is why we would continue all of her work through her foundation, through helping the kids in Pasig. That is why I know that it is her wish to come home to Pasig City, for her family to see her there, her friends, and all of her scholars. That is why, again, from to all of her friends here in the States, I want to thank you for being part of her life. And from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much for making her life as meaningful as it is. Thank you very much.
My sisters and I think, all wrote something to share about our mom. So my mom, she was a very vibrant person. As my dad described her, she was full of life. I would often be amazed by her energy as we'd be on vacations in Boracay or Bali, and she'd be so energetic, just booking every single water sport possible. She'd have us swim for hours in the morning, followed by gallivanting around the island, meeting people, eating weird foods, and all of that. And that was one of my favorite things about her, and one of the things that I feel like I took most from her was her love of travel and seeing the world. And not only did she have this amazing ability to talk to people and build all these meaningful relationships with people of all ages, despite their cultures, despite their languages, and she had a strong willingness to share that with everyone, which is something I admired about her. Like even when we were abroad, she would just invite people to have meals with us that she had just met that morning, and then she would buy them gifts, buy gifts for their families, have them bring it home to them. And I think it's a sentiment that we're all probably going to talk about, was that she was just such a giving person, and she gave love to our family and to our friends and to every single person she interacted with. And I remember as a kid flying to, traveling every summer with our family and with our employees, and her employees were our extended family if anything. And she taught all of us to see the beauty of other cultures. She taught us humbleness and compassion. She brought light to the privilege that we had in our family and the hardships that other people were experiencing in the world. And this started with our travels to the Philippines. It extended throughout Asia, and continued with her work with all of the scholars. And she's truly like the most kind and amazing woman who I'll always see as a role model. My dad last night, he sent me a paper that I wrote when I was 14 years old, and it was titled My Mom. And she had saved it amongst some of her things. And it mentioned all of the things that I just talked about. As my brother just said, I described her in the paper as well as impatient, absurd at times, and extremely stubborn. All things that I think we can agree are true, but I described her this way because I was annoyed as an early teenager that she would throw me these huge birthday parties every summer, and she would invite hundreds of kids from neighborhoods in Pasig. And I was annoyed because she would make me get all dressed up and just talk to all these random people who I didn't know. But she invited all of these kids because they all lived in, most of them were living in unideal quarters, and some were from orphanages, some were displaced from being disabled, and she just wanted to give them a day to have fun, to celebrate anything, even if it was, you know, my 5th birthday or our half birthday. I think she just joined all of our birthdays together just for an excuse to throw anything. And I was 14 years old when I wrote this, and she started teaching us these things when we were really small, like, I don't know, probably once we were born. She started to teach us about these things. But she instilled in me perspective my entire life and taught me the value of giving back, how something as simple as throwing a party for one day could brighten up so many lives. And I am who I am today because of her, which, if anything, is even half of the person she was. And she was, yes, my mother, but she was also my best friend, and she valued my beliefs. She always asked for my opinion, and she gave me the freedom to do anything and act as I pleased. She never got upset if I came home with a new piercing or a tattoo, because she loved how I was creative and she honored my unique qualities. And by giving me this freedom, she made me feel empowered as a woman. And she taught me not to succumb to what others told me to do or be if I didn't believe it was right. And she did this to like my entire life. She taught me to stand up for myself, and she gave me that confidence to be whoever it was that I wanted to be. And I know she like always bragged about us to people, which could be annoying, but you know, I think for us as kids, it really helped us to feel loved, and it helped us to know that she was proud of us, even if the words weren't coming exactly like from her own mouth to us. We know she was always talking about us, and she was proud of us always. And another memory is as a kid, I'd be in the Philippines for a summer, and I'd say I wanted to be an artist and an Olympic swimmer, a doctor, a rock star, all in one summer. And she would give me all of those opportunities. She would enroll me in every single class that I wanted. She would hire teachers for all of those things. And she gave me and my siblings these opportunities so that we could live our life to the fullest. She always hyped us up. She was always so proud. And she stood up for us if we needed her to. If there was a problem any of us were having, she would be knocking at that person's door immediately, ready to yell, ready to scream, or do whatever it was that we needed to make us feel better. And she was 100% dedicated to us. And while our dad was working, she would single-handedly take care of me and my sisters and our friends, all of whom were energetic, all of whom went to different schools, did a crazy amount of extracurricular activities. And it couldn't have been easy, but she was always there. And she did all this while taking care of her businesses overseas and taking care of her family abroad and her friends and employees and their families. And she was basically Wonder Woman, and she deserved every spotlight that she asked for at her Christmas parties. And she was the best mom, and I'll miss her more than words can describe. And I'll miss seeing her dance in the kitchen, and I'll miss her text messages that are made up entirely of heart emojis, her comments about our dogs, and all of her laughs and her smiles. And though she's not physically here with us, I know I'll see her in every colorful cluster of flowers that we pass, and every butterfly, and every dance number. I'll hear her in every ABBA song, every Christmas song. Every Christmas party will know she's there, and I'll feel her with me on every trip that I take and every accomplishment. And she'll always be the best mom for us, and our best friends, and our dancing queen, and now she's going to be our angel. And yeah, I love you, Mom.
I truly don't know where to begin. This was not supposed to happen, and I'm still trying to figure out God's plan. You are the strongest person I know, and to see the strongest person I know in so much pain broke my heart, especially at the fact that I couldn't do anything. However, knowing that you're no longer in pain and in peace is all that I can ask for. I know that you're in heaven making friends with everyone, having a party every day, surrounded by puppies and stuffed animals, and eating bulalo. My mom was the strongest, most eccentric, and energetic person I know. She was truly one of a kind. She lit up every room she went into with her bright smile and always brought the energy. She was, of course, the life of every party, literally any party, even though it wasn't hers. She effortlessly became the center of attention because her joy and spirit was so contagious. She could also talk to you forever about anything. Running into someone at the grocery store always turned into at least an hour conversation. But that's just who she was. She loved people and she loved socializing. She was strong. She would never take no for an answer, and she could convince you to do anything. My mom was my #1 fan. You would not see my mom without wearing at least one thing that had NYU, UCLA, or Berkeley on it. Every time I came home from Berkeley, she would ask me to bring more car stickers home. And I know you see our cars decked out in college gear. She even got college patches from the Philippines so that she could iron it onto her clothes. She was so proud of us, and all of our accomplishments would not have happened if it were not for her. I am so lucky to have a mom that was so proud of us and always rooting for us. She took me to every single practice, was at every single game, and was at volunteering at my school every day. I would run into her in the hallways in high school, and I feel like she was there more than me. She cheered me on the loudest on the sidelines, pacing back and forth and following the game. Half the time, I don't even think she knew what was going on in the game, but she cheered regardless. In our cross-country meets, I remember she would try to run alongside us when she could. She even got giant posters of me and Mishka's face for our basketball games, and not just of me, but of everyone on my basketball team. She believed in me so much and still thinks I could play in the WNBA. Now that I'm a teacher, my mom was her capacity to love and give. My mom had the capacity to love and give every single person she met. She tried to love every single person she cared about the best way she could. She treated everyone like family. She was always giving gifts for absolutely no reason, but that was her way of showing love. One time she met a Filipina at the doctor's office. My mom ended up giving her one of Kona and Java's puppies because she was going through a hard time. That was just the kind of person she was. She always had her love to give to anyone. To give everyone opportunities that she did not always have in life. She was so selfless and always thought about herself last. One of the parents of my students told me, "I imagine your mother would be proud to know how beautifully you nurture your students." I know that I am like this completely because of her. My mom taught me to selflessly care for others and make sure everyone is able to have the same opportunities. With all of the love she had to give was also the worry that comes with caring for someone. Worried they're okay, worried they're happy. My mom was so worried. You were worried about us, the Philippines, the pandemic, your friends, random strangers in the apartment building. I know you were worried about leaving us, which is why you fought for so long. You were worried about leaving us, so you waited until we were together one last time to say goodbye. But I told you you don't have to worry anymore, Mommy. I will take care of everyone and we'll take care of each other. We got each other. We got your friends, we got your family. We got Queen's Court, we got Kona, Mush, and Java. I promise you that you don't have to worry anymore and we'll be okay. I missed your smile when you were happy, and it was always the little things, like walking Kona and Java, or a rare moment when Mushi wasn't being grouchy, or figuring out how to send a chain text message on Facebook. The world is not the same without you, Mommy. You will always be the dancing queen and the passing queen. In the wise words of Celine Dion, I'm everything I am because you loved me. I love you, Mommy, more than you ever know. I'm so blessed to have had you as my mom, and I'm just as blessed to have you as my guardian angel. Thank you for giving me the world.
Can you hear? Okay. So my sisters and my family everybody's speeches are all, I feel, a lot more put together than mine, because I didn't write mine till like 3 a.m. last night. Just because it's like, how do you find the words, you know? But, yeah, so this isn't, well, they said everything that they should have, and my speech is more like my experience based, but I'm glad that they were able to, sorry, my speech is more experience based, but I'm glad my sisters, my dad, my brother were able to let you guys know about like the person that she was. But I'm Meshka, and I'm my mom's bunso, and that means I'm her youngest. Can someone come here and hear this? You can do it.
Take your time. Don't rush it.
Yeah. So that means I'm her youngest, and to her it meant I was always her baby, and she would suffocate me with care and attention all the time. We spent like every single minute together when I was little, and as I got older, she would spend as much time with me and my sisters as she could. My favorite memories with her were when I was like in preschool or kindergarten, and my sisters would be at school, my dad would be at work, so it would just be us. She'd turn on the stereo in the kitchen and we'd just like dance to Mambo number 5 and other old school jams for just like hours, and we both loved to dance. Anyone that knows her knows she loved to dance, even when I still lived with her last year. First thing she'd do every single morning, she'd go down to the kitchen and she'd go, "Alexa, play Zumba music." And then she'd just like dance in the kitchen for hours just to get her daily steps in. So anyway, even as I got older and wanted to discover myself, distance myself more, to find myself, whatever, she'd always find an excuse to spend time with me and make her presence and existence consistent in my life. It was often that her and my dad would just call me and be like, "Where are you? We're at UCLA." So I'd just pack up whatever I was doing to say hi. And I was always busy with school stuff, org stuff, so those visits were always short, but I always cherished them. I thought it was the sweetest thing that they would always come to visit when they could. There were even times she'd call me and she'd be like, "Mish, what are you doing? Like, are you free?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And she'd be like, "Okay, do you want Starbucks?" And I was like, she has a really big Starbucks coffee cup collection, but she like does not do like artisanal, like expensive like coffee, like all the luxurious stuff. So I was like, oh, interesting. So like obviously I'd say yes. So then she'd pick me up from my apartment, and then she'd start driving in the complete opposite direction from Starbucks, and I was like, where are we going? She'd just like kidnap me. So I'd do like errands with her for a few hours, and then she'd drop me back off at the apartment without any Starbucks, but I'd say yes every time just for the potential. I know she cared a lot about us, but she definitely used and abused my close proximity to her since I went to school in LA, and she took any opportunity to come take care of me. Anytime I'd say I was sick with just a cold or something, her and my dad would show up to my school with soup and Gatorade and medicine to help me out. It was weird, but one of my fondest moments in the past year was back in December in the Philippines. I just gotten all four of my wisdom teeth extracted in the same appointment, so my face was just like a giant square and it was super sore. And on the first night, I decided to skip out on the pain meds because I was just like, oh, I'll just sleep it off and wake up in the morning and take them. But in the middle of the night, I woke up just because of the pain and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I went outside to the kitchen and was just trying to figure out where the medicine was, but it was hard to focus because of the pain, so I was just standing in the kitchen in the middle of the night just like crying because I didn't know what to do with myself. And without an ounce of judgment, she just woke up, asked what was wrong, got my medicine for me, made sure everything was okay, and made sure I went to bed. And that moment just reminded me that she'll always see me as her baby to take care of. Throughout my whole life, she always took care of me, even when I wasn't looking for it. Even in her last days in the hospital, she took care of me. The first time we were able to visit her at the hospital about a month and a half ago, she had already fallen into a comatose state. We went up to visit her, and I had never seen her the way that I did. She was hooked up to all these machines, and it was the first time I'd seen her unresponsive. Throughout her whole fight in the hospital, it was easy for us to tell her, just be strong, Mommy, and keep fighting. We just want you to come home. But when I saw her there, I was just like, Mommy, I know you're a fighter. You've always been a passionate fighter your whole life. But Mommy, I just want you to be at peace. I want you to come home, but Mommy, maybe God is calling you to go home to Him. Just the sight of her and her body suffering was just like, it hurt way too much for me. It hurt because we couldn't do anything to take care of her. I felt so helpless. But of course my mom still found a way to take care of me. I've only told this to one person before now, but my mom actually said goodbye to me a long time before she passed. She visited me in a dream the day after I saw her for the first time in the hospital. I know people might be skeptical or think my mind is just like doing things for my own comfort, but I knew in the depths of my soul that that dream was literally God sent, and I know that was my mom visiting me. For the sake of time, I'll spare the details, but essentially she picked me and my dad up from an event we were at. When I approached the car, she had the world's biggest smile on her face. My dad took the driver's seat and I sat in the back, and she was in the passenger seat. And I was just watching her and listening to her voice. We were just peacefully driving down the street. It was often I'd be in that exact situation. My parents just talking in the front seat and me just chilling in the back as they drove me to or from school. I remember that nothing in that moment was sweeter than hearing her have just like the most normal, mundane conversation ever. And nothing was more beautiful than just being able to see her smiling and talking. I called out Mom because I remember all I wanted to do was be able to tell her, I miss you, to her face, and know she heard it. But when I called out to her, she didn't hear me and just kept talking to my dad. I did try calling out again because I didn't mind at all though. Just seeing her happy was enough for me. We just continued driving and an overwhelming feeling of just content came over the scene. And the moment was just insanely peaceful. I was just so happy to exist in it. I knew from the dream that she was with God already, or that they had at least worked together to send me a message that God's got her, and she's not suffering, and she's okay, and I don't have to worry about her. I honestly woke up expecting to look at my phone and see a text and a bunch of calls saying that she had passed, but she hadn't. So ever since then, I was just able to take every day as a blessing that she was still here. She visited me so she could let me know what was coming and so she could help me emotionally prepare for it. That overwhelming feeling of peace, that was something I only experienced twice in my life. That first was in that dream, and that second was when me, Mika, Cheska, and my dad were able to visit her for the first and last time together in the hospital the night before she passed. I think it was her way of letting me know that this might be the last time we see her, but that, again, she's not suffering and that she's okay and God's got her. She was always looking out for me and taking care of me. I talked to my partner about this, but I honestly believe God called her home because her mission on earth was done. Some of the things she always valued were education and family. Last year I graduated with my undergrad degree and Mika was able to graduate with her double master's. Just some months ago, Cheska was able to graduate with her master's in education. She waited around long enough for all of us to become employed and have stable, self-sustaining careers and lives. She was able to make it until all of her kids were able to take care of themselves. This pandemic has been tough on her as she was super stressed out. Not about her businesses, but about her employees who she considers her family and how their lives would be affected. But thankfully she has a dream team of close staff out to Luz, out to Grace, and out to Marlon, who had been able to hold down the fort for her, so she knew Casa Queen's Court was in good hands. During the novena, Tita Lolette said that she had the puso ng masa, or something like that. I'm not good at Tagalog. But that means the heart of the people or heart of the masses, and I've never heard a more fitting description of her. She spent her whole life taking care of other people, even though she didn't know. She would frequently reach out to small orgs in Pasig to collaborate or just hear their stories. She put over 1,000 students through college at RTU. She gave her employees all she could and made sure to give them access to as many opportunities as possible. She was always a leader in me and my sister's parent-teacher associations growing up. She donated money wherever she could. I just pray I have a fraction of her passion and compassion, because to have that is to know your life doesn't die with your body, but it lives on through your everlasting legacy and effect on other people and your good deeds on earth. It's crazy to see how many people have shown my family their support and love. To see more than 100 people from all over the U.S. and all over the Philippines consistently joining our novena every night. To be receiving a ton of friend requests from people I have never met before just because they knew and loved her. She was able to live her life so selflessly, and she was able to take care of everyone in her life until she saw we were able to take care of ourselves. And I think at that point she had to take care of herself, and that's when God called her home. Her mission was done. I miss you every day, Mommy, and I wish every day that we'd be at the apartment and hear the doorknob shake and see you walk through the door. Normal and healthy. But I know the peace and happiness you get to live in now in heaven is a peace and happiness that we can't even begin to fathom or imagine. And you deserve every single bit of it. You spent your whole life for others, and it's time for you to experience something for you. I hope you're happily reunited with Mama and Big Papa and Tita and Dai now. And I know you're chatting their ears off in your classic fashion. So don't worry about us. Here we'll be okay. And thank you for leaving this earth with the sweetest little grin on your face to let us know you're okay too. I love and miss you. Know that you're at the heart of the way I lead my life and will continue to lead my life. I can't wait until the day we can dance to Mambo number 5 together again without a care in the world. You're been so much. Oh, it's off.
There we go. Hi, I'm reading this on behalf of my mom, Tita Marivic's sister. She's not as comfortable with public speaking, but luckily I did a lot of theater, so let's try this. Hello everyone, thank you for coming. Marivic and I were inseparable growing up in a small town of Pasig. I was the youngest of a family of 5, and Marivic just a year older. As the older sister, she was obliged to take care of me. School to home, home to school, not a big task, but good enough for a young kid. No complaints from me, I followed her lead. Papa was, as we called our father, was engaged in politics. Our ancestral house was filled with people from all walks of life. Politicians, businessmen, workers, teachers, etc. There were plenty of music, singing, dancing, cocktails, campaign parties, parades, and more. Definitely our lives were full of color. We had a lot of stories to tell. There were fun days and not so fun days, but were worth reminiscing. We sailed through life, through unpredictable weathers side by side. And then came motherhood. She had 5 kids, and how she loved them. She was involved, engaged, and well-liked in school. I did have one of my own. She became a successful businesswoman, big decisions to make. I had no doubt that she knew what she was doing. And as Marivic received the success, she sent underprivileged teens to college to better equip themselves for their future. I heard about these many scholars and how they were paying their respects to honor Marivic. I thank them for being grateful. They have yearly Christmas parties for workers, scholars, and herself are participants in this vibrant celebration. How they enjoyed and loved her being around. She looked forward to these gatherings, the center of it all, holiday greetings, dancing, laughing, putting up a big show. She was larger than life. Overall, she was happy. We were sailing in unpredictable weather. When she passed on, I realized how much she's a part of my life. I felt a part of me just missing all of a sudden. To all of you, friends and relatives, thank you for paying your respects to my Marivic. To Christian, Icy, Mika, Cheska, and Mishka, thank you for making her life full of excitement and full of colors. She loved you so dearly. And lastly, what a perfect way to go through life with a loving man by your side. To my brother-in-law, Eric, you loved Marivic and took care of her. I have never seen Marivic so contented and happy, and that is all because of you. Thank you. To my dear sister, you turned out to be a fine woman. We may not be together yet. There is a special closeness between us, and I know you are still watching me sailing along. Until we meet again, Marivic.
If anybody else wants to speak, just come up. Excellent.
Hi, I'm Victoria. Guys, you know me. Sonia's daughter. Can you guys hear me? Sonia's daughter. And Tita Marivic is her best friend, sister. So she's gone too soon. But I know you are gone. But even though I know you are gone, I have to let you go. To the one who let you know. God called you too soon, my dearest beloved best friend, Marivic, that I call my sister. We are all deeply hurt and heartbroken that you're gone. I can still feel you and hear your voice around. We have too many memories, too much time that we spent together. You always found a way to spend time with me. I know from my heart that you will always be with me.
I'm gonna be missing you every time I go to work.
when she always call or I call her. She always tells me to be careful, to take care of yourself. And I was calling me, all asking when I share off so we could spend time together. All that memories that I have, I will never forget everything. Even when we went to Tacloban, she always trying to find a way to go with us. Just to be with them, to spend time, how to see my own family. She always. And I just thank for everything, and I will never forget. You will always be in my heart. I love you.
Anybody else? In behalf of the family, myself, Christian, Ada Claire, Icy, Nika, Francesca, and Mishka, we really appreciate you coming here, or if you're live on Facebook, we appreciate you watching us. And we should really think of this as celebrating her life. Celebrating her life until, and just to, and try to do the same thing she tried to do here, care for others, and love life. Give some joy to others. Thank you. May Lord grant her eternal rest. Thank you.